Good morning. More strategic, more innovative, more agile. If you are going to be successful in the next few years, those three words are going to have to be front and center of your thinking and your strategy. And in order to do that, you have to think differently about the world around us. It's absolutely true that we live in a time of change, but that statement is uninteresting because we have lived in a time of change since human beings arrived on this planet. The world changes every single day. It always has. But every now and again in history, a moment arrives, an era dawns where it seems as if all the forces of change combine together to cause a moment when history itself changes. We label those moments. That's what we study when we study history. We study those moments when the rules begin to change, when society puts itself together in different ways. We label them like the end of the Dark Ages, the Renaissance, Enlightenment, the Reformation, the Industrial Revolution. And I believe that Angela, Richard, and the others who you'll hear from at this conference are exactly right, that we're living through one of those moments again. In the next 10 or 20 years, we will experience revolutionary, disruptive change. Change that will change the course of history, change that history itself will look back on. And the very worst thing that you can do in a time like that is to simply try and improve the things you've already been doing. You have to think differently and then be strategic, innovative, and agile. In a sense, we're like these two fishermen. They are just going about their day-to-day business, doing what they do. You're like these guys. I mean, you're not fishermen, and some of you are so good at what you do, you can do it sort of half asleep. I mean, I hope you don't. But we don't necessarily look around us for some big unexpected forces that might be coming our way in the very near future. When we do notice them, a bump, a noise, a political change, an economic recession, you kind of got to wake your team up and get the motor of your business going. It can get quite scary.
Get up.
And in the current economic climate, let's not talk about bailing out. Now, we live at one of these moments in history. The rules for success and failure in every industry are currently being rewritten. That's a bold statement. And so, if you'll allow me the rest of the week, I could prove it to you. I asked permission to be on stage till Friday lunchtime. It was denied. So, I have 27 minutes and 2 seconds left. Let me just give you 3 reasons why I believe we're living at a time where you cannot just keep doing what you've always done. Even if you perfect what you've been doing, it might still not be enough. You see, our world is shifting and shifting dramatically. Three exhibits, if you don't mind, just this morning. The first is that we're living longer than we ever thought we would or could. My father's mother was born in February 1914 in British East Africa, a few months before the start of World War I. When she was born, life expectancy for a white woman in the British Empire was 47. That was her expectation of a good, long life. She's still alive. We celebrated her 100th birthday earlier this year in Bournemouth in the UK, where she lives. For those of you from the UK, where else would you live if you were 100? That's what it feels like anyway when I go and visit her. She has more than doubled her life expectancy at birth. She's not alone, though. All around the world, more and more. That's not my grandmother, by the way. There are 360,000 people in the world older than 100. 24,000 of them live in the UK. 56,000 of them live in the United States. Interesting fact, we tend to think of them dying in their 40s of diabetes. Not so. And they're going to be traveling, if I can say, into their 80s. and 90s. My grandmother took her last flight when she was 94, and she would have continued after that if anyone had been able to give her travel insurance. But you are going to live longer than you thought you would. In fact, every week you are alive right now, you are adding 1.5 days to your life expectancy. That's how fast it's increasing. It's increasing like that because we are able to replace almost every single part of your body right now. The only part of your body we cannot replace with current medical technology is your brain. As long as you can keep your brain functioning, we can replace everything else. And within a few years, we will have the technology to replace even that. Maybe the first person to live forever, as long as the electricity doesn't go off, is already alive. Now, that may be too much of a stretch for you this morning, so let me just put it this way. My oldest daughter, Amy, was born in March of 1999. And she has more than an 80% chance of making her 100th birthday. Let's make it 101, and my daughter gets to live in 3 centuries. So does yours. Any person you know who was born in the 1990s, and let's be honest, these are people who are changing the beds in your hotels, who are on your reception, they will live in 3 centuries unless tragedy strikes. This is the expectation. That's insane. I mean, it changes all sorts of things, doesn't it? It changes what you have to think about, for example, marriage. If you have a death till death do us part attitude, and you're getting married, so you're ahead of me now. You know, it's one thing if you've just made a 50-year commitment at age 25, but if you've just made a 100-year promise, you better check out the genetics. Of course, this has to change how we think about careers. Do you really think that at the age of 18, you can make a decision about your career and then you're going to stick to it? Do you think anybody joining your business at age 24, 25 really wants to work their way up into senior management and then retire from your company when they're going to live to 120? Obviously, a lot of this change is coming because we have to rethink retirement. You cannot retire at 65, or 62, I know if you're in France, or 52 in Greece. That's the second political statement this morning, yeah. Whatever age your government sets, and it is going to increase that age over the next few years, and some of you are baby boomers and will just squeak in under those changes. But you cannot retire at 65. That's not a financial statement. You might be rich enough to retire at 65, probably not. But even if you are, that's a physical statement. That's a psychological and mental statement. It's probably even a spiritual statement. You can't be retired for 50 years or even 30. And we're going to have to reinvent what retirement looks like. Now, for the Americans in the room, apologies for that little humor there, but retire, spelled with a Y, in Europe is retiring the tire on your car, retreading, refiring yourself. That's what retirement is going to be, is going to need to be. And any of those young digital natives joining you right now, they're going to have to work until they're 80 years old. Do you really think they want to work for you that long? If you want them to, what are you going to have to change? And when do you think you're going to have to start making those changes? Exhibit B. Now, this is the only place where I have a slight disagreement with the fantastic work your IHG research team has done. You see, the first of your 6 macro trends is natural resources under pressure, and they are. But there's some wonderful news about to emerge that could change everything, or certainly give us a technological advantage to fixing some problems we've created. And there you can see abundant, cheap, and mainly clean energy. The first of these examples, I'm going to give you just 3, is shale gas. We know this is fracking, our ability to extract gas from the shale layer of the earth. In 2012, The Economist stated that this revolution in America in particular was the equivalent of an oil tanker doing a handbrake turn. It is a revolution. They predicted that by 2020, the United States of America would be energy independent. Well, they're wrong. 3 weeks ago, the United States of America overtook both Saudi Arabia and Russia as the world's leading oil and gas producer. Now, some of the early states, Pennsylvania in particular, that went into fracking early and didn't put enough controls over them, are seeing some very serious damage being done to the environment. If you've seen movies like Gasland and so on, you can sort of light your tap water in some parts, which is probably not entirely healthy. But other states have realized their mistake, and you can actually make this a very, very safe technology as long as you're prepared to put the controls in place. And states, especially like California, are leading the way in doing that. So let me restate what The Economist said. By 2020, not only will America be energy independent. By the way, that's a statement which should send ripples through the audience. America being energy independent is about the most revolutionary, disruptive thing I could possibly say. America no longer needs to be involved in global geopolitics. The only countries it is really concerned about is oil-producing countries, for obvious reasons, and it doesn't need them anymore. But by the end of the next American president's first term, America will be exporting oil and gas. I'm supposed to be a futurist, so let me rephrase that statement. By the end of Hilary Clinton's first term of office. Don't believe everything I say. The second exhibit is this little baby here. This is a computerized mock-up of something that is being built in the south of France near Marseille. It actually is a star. This device here, built by a company called ITER, I-T-E-R. If you want to blow your mind, go and look at ITER.org. Because they are building the world's largest engineering device, bigger than the Large Hadron Collider in CERN. A magnetic field holding plasma in a vacuum. And then a pulse of energy goes into this plasma and nuclear fusion takes place. More energy comes out of this reaction than goes in. This is what happens at the center of every star in the universe, and we're building one on planet Earth. It is fueled by seawater. And it promises us abundant, cheap energy. It is a reality. This is not a science fiction. This is not a prediction. This is not something we hope might happen in the future. It is currently being built. It will come on stream in 2027, but there are the most up-to-date pictures of the site in southern France. I do not understand why every news media in the world does not start every bulletin of every day with these pictures. This is going to change our world beyond anything else that we have ever done. And if that is not enough, the oil-producing nations of the Middle East, realizing that both the oil supplies they have in the earth are limited and the world's demand for those oil supplies is going down. You may have noticed the price of oil recently. It's not just randomly happening. They looked around and they said, well, what else do we have that's of abundant supply which could be interesting? And of course, what they have started to do is fuel their own countries by solar. Bahrain pretty much runs its entire country on solar power. When the Arab oil-producing nations start turning to solar power, you know the world is changing. And what cheap, abundant energy provides us is what Bahrain has done, which is to fuel the world's largest desalination plant, so that the entire nation of Bahrain gets cheap, almost free, clean, drinkable water, fueled by solar power alone. Remarkable. My third exhibit is technology, and you've already heard something about this. The power that we have literally in the palms of our hands with these smart devices. I agree with you exactly. These are not phones anymore. We shouldn't be calling them smartphones. They are smart devices. bringing powerful technology and masses of information, more information than anyone has ever had in the history of the world, literally into the palm of your hands. And you know how powerful these devices are because most of you are less than an arm's length away from these devices at all times. Never away from you, always close. It's probably the thing that woke you up this morning. On average, you will look at this thing 72 times today. Some of you are thinking, 70, I've done that already. And for some of you, it'll be the last thing you see tonight. Even if there's a partner in the bed next to you, it's good night on this side, and then good night on that side. It's not the devices that are the clever thing. News spends lots of time talking about the iPhone 6 and the Samsung this and the whatever. That's not the issue. The issue is what these devices are doing for us. And more than anything else, they are connecting us to the digital heartbeat of the planet. They are creating a digital heartbeat to our planet. It's these devices and the technology behind them that are fueling the technologies that are exploding all around us. All of the pictures on the screen are existing technologies. They are not predictions. From home drones. My brother's a cameraman who works for CNN. He's got 2 drones of his own. His neighbors have asked him not to fly his GoPro over the actual neighborhood, as you can imagine. We've already discovered there's a few of you in the audience already wearing these smart devices. I'm wearing a Pebble. Some of you have got Fitbits and Jawbones and Gears. Our ability to have real-time information. And I disagree with you. I think it's going to be fantastic when they're inside. Beep, beep. Dear Graeme, you haven't drunk enough water yet this morning. Please get half a liter in you as soon as possible. With love from your kidneys. And then later this evening, for some of you, dear Graeme, that's enough. Fair point. 3D printers. That's a picture of my 3D printer, the Rapman 1. I've since upgraded to the Rapman 3, just about to upgrade to the MakerBot. In other words, I'm on my 3rd 3D printer. How many of you had yet? Because you see, when made in China can be made in your kitchen, the world has changed. When you wake up in the morning and discover a button missing from your shirt, and you don't panic because you simply use the app on your phone to take a photograph of an existing button and tell the printer to print it out. 3 minutes later, you've got a new button and off you go. Anything plastic at home, but anything metal, anything, anywhere, anytime, coming soon to a kitchen near you. Driverless cars now legal in California and Nevada. The Internet of Things taking over our homes, giving us smart houses and smart cities and smart cars and smart lives. Living in a smart world. And the news for the hospitality industry in this is remarkable. You've heard of disintermediation, our ability to get the agents out of the system, and travel agents and estate agents now have to fight really hard to position themselves in your marketplace. Well, not estate agents, but travel agents. But I actually think what's happening right now is what I want to call digital re-intermediation. Because you see, what's happening with these smart devices is profound. For example, in the banking world, these devices allow physical products to be made digital. So banks are now competing against PayPal and M-Pesa and Bitcoin. And the credit card companies are about to be demolished by Apple iPay. I wonder how many of your hotels are accepting that as payment yet. How fast are you moving in the payment and banking space, which you have to keep up with, and is about to be revolutionized as digital competitors come in and take away from the physical environment. But it goes further. The re-intermediation is about agents coming in that are paper thin, that are almost invisible. Uber and Airbnb, you're going to hear about these during the course of this conference, but that's exactly what they're doing. They pass on the costs to the producer now, not the consumer. A total revolution of the business model. And they are paper thin in the middle. Most people using them don't even notice they're there. This isn't just Booking.com and Expedia on steroids. This is something else. And there's many more coming. As this smart world puts smart people in touch with smart suppliers. But you've got to be smart to be one of those smart suppliers. And by the way, this isn't just for the rich. This isn't just happening in the rich world. This is everywhere. If you are rich, it does help. These are the two most expensive mobile devices in the world. This one, I understand, it's covered with diamonds and crystals. That one, no idea. You have to ask Tag Heuer why they're charging more than 20,000 euros for that phone. But it isn't just for the rich. I've been waving around my iPhone 5S. But in my other pocket, I have a phone which a Huawei executive gave me 2 months ago. They've been promising this for a while. It's a fully functioning smartphone run on the Android Jelly Bean system, so fully functioning. 2 gigabytes of internal memory, a 2 megapixel camera, 2 SIM cards. In China, they have data and voice contracts separately. Works perfectly. This costs 32 euros. Okay? Not 32 euros on contract, not 32 euros a month. 32 euros straight out. There it is. So we can give cheap smart devices, cheap smartphones to every single person in the world, in every market of every part of the world. Now, of course, you've got to add to that a data contract so that they can connect to the internet. This guy here is one of my favorite guys in the world. My accent might have given me away. I'm originally South African, and so is he. His name is Elon Musk. He's one of the PayPal billionaires, and he's invested his money in Tesla. You might have heard of them, the electric smart car company. He also is the CEO of SpaceX. You might have heard of them, the first civilian space company to get contracts from NASA and the military. He also is going to die on Mars. He's the guy behind this crazy one-way trip to Mars that's going in 2027, where they're going to build a base on Mars and see how long they can survive. So I'm telling you all of that to tell you he is certifiably crazy. But one of his craziest schemes, you can see by the heading there, is to bring free Wi-Fi to Africa. And along with Facebook and Google, he's started to do that already. Rwanda pretty much covered. Mombasa, the Silicon Valley in Kenya, Silicon Valley of Africa, already very much covered. Stellenbosch down in Cape Town, pretty much covered. Most schools, even the township schools of South Africa, pretty much covered already, and 30% of Johannesburg's taxis already have free Wi-Fi in them. And this is going to spread all across the world into every emerging market everywhere. So now we give you 35 euro, 32 euro smartphones and free data. And we have changed the world. In the next 2 to 5 years, those 7.2 rising to 9 billion people or so over the next few decades will all be connected to the digital heartbeat of this planet. And we will be a smart planet. How smart will you be? Smart. Interesting word. Maybe I can make it more interesting for you. There are 5 things in SMART. You have to be more social. You already heard that from Angela. Take notice. TripAdvisor's just the start. Nobody wants to hear from you. They want to hear from other people about you. They want to be always instantly connected, and they want to be engaging. SMART is not just about pictures of your breakfast and cat videos. It's not about how many likes you've got on Facebook or how many retweets you get on Twitter. It's how you connect and have conversations with people who talk about you. M is for social. M stands for mobile. That's obvious. Everything has to be done on mobile. I fly out later today to get to Oslo. I'm going via Schiphol. I've checked in, I've changed and chosen my seats, I've chosen my meals, all on my phone. I will get to the airport, I won't speak to a human being, I will go right through using my phone. Everything is done on mobile, and the airline apps are designed for mobile. It's not your website just looking okay on the mobile device. It's designed for mobile first. Why can't my mobile phone unlock my door? Why can't my mobile phone check me into your hotels? Not everybody wants that, because the A stands for analytics. The A stands for knowing your customers, not as groups and bulks, but as individuals, so that you know when I come to your hotel, I don't want to see anybody. When you see my mobile phone coming to reception, everybody should disappear. My wife is different. She'd like you all to be there. Knowing the difference between the two of us is what will make you great. How good are you at your analytics? R is for real time. You know this now. And T is for technology. Because you're absolutely right. I don't want to have to go and sit in the lounge again because the Wi-Fi in my room last night, room 829, wasn't working. And luckily, I've got a reasonably decent status at IHG. But nobody should have to pay. Nobody. I agree completely. T for technology. Technologically enabled. Are you smart? You need to be. Now, I'm not saying that technology is everything. I agree completely with the message that people are everything. People engaged with and through technology. So we don't want to lose the human touch when we bring all of this technology. And the last thing we want is something like this.
Emma. Huh? Emma.
Not anymore.
Emma.
Every day it's getting on my nerves.
Emma.
Oh, I'm
Emma.
begging you.
Emma.
Now look, if you've got smart customers, you've also got smart staff. And all of those things I've just talked about, social, mobile, analytics, real-time, and technology-driven, this applies to your staff, especially your younger staff, those digital natives, those millennials that we've been talking about already, that you've already been hearing about. I agree with you, Angela, exactly. I've got 3 daughters as well, 15, 13, and 9. I know it's the digital age, that's not their names, by the way. We didn't just give them numbers. But they work like this as well. I mean, this is probably my favorite photograph in this presentation because these 4 young people are actually sending text messages to each other. That's how they choose to connect. Not because they are stupid and lazy, not because they have no social skills, but because they see no difference between what we call the real world and the digital world. Those are 2 entirely connected and singular worlds for them. And these are the people that are going to fuel your growth. These are the people that fill the staffing positions of your hotels. These are the people that are going to have to be taught to interact with your guests in smart ways. You have to understand and connect and engage and get the most out of them. Otherwise, there is no success possible in this world emerging. So which mindsets? Orthodoxies. I love that word. An orthodoxy is a belief about how the world works, about how the world should work. And I wonder what orthodoxies you have as you sit here in this conference today. I wonder what you believe has to be done to be successful. And I wonder if you think that 30 or 40 years of experience in this industry is of any use right now. It's not of no use, but it's not your biggest asset either. As you listen to the speakers over the next 2 days, please, as you hear things which maybe don't make sense or which rile you a little bit, or where you say, that's not going to happen to us, please check yourself and say, what are the orthodoxies that are about to be disrupted? What should I be hearing here that I'm not? Let me just make sure you've understood this. Over the past 2 decades, the world has changed substantially. The last 10 years has been remarkable. The world's rules are being rewritten, and different times require a different script. If the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, then you are dying. Rate of change outside your industry, your hotel, your job, you. If the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, you are becoming extinct. You need to unlearn. Not just learn new things, you need to unlearn some things, leave some things behind. Let me see if you've understood what I've said. Which of these lines is longer? They're the same. Have you seen this before? I think I might have wasted about 31 minutes of your time. My whole point is that they're not. You see, I've spent the last 30 minutes telling you the world is not as it appears. I've spent the last 2 minutes specifically telling you that the things you think you know, you don't. That the things you think you've seen before, you haven't. It's a little bit unfair, it's early. This is my favorite slide. It's my simplest slide. It's the one I hope you remember when you look at something on stage in the next 2 days and say, I've seen that before, it's not true, or that doesn't make sense. You haven't seen this world before. You have not seen this industry before. We live at a moment of unbelievable disruptive change. But I've seen a little bit of what you're going to see over the next 2 days, and I think your leadership team are onto something. Make sure you're listening. Thank you very much for your time.